Where are you letting serendipity into your life?
Yeah.
Serendipity
Where?
loves me here. And there's an element of allowing that to really be a place that is okay, that has actually just allowed my business, allowed the movement, allowed my impact to continue to grow and blossom. So I want to start off today with just a question for you. Like, where are you allowing serendipity in, and what room does it have to play in your world? Today, we're actually going to be joined by someone, but before we do, I want to us even having this conversation seems like a movement of serendipity. A few months ago, I went to the Rich Lippin Intensive, where I go to continue my leadership training and develop myself as a leader, as a movement leader, and as a coach. And I went out to dinner with a few other coaches and was ordering some food. And while I was ordering and in the line, there was someone there who I wish I can tell you why. Let's just call it intuition. Intuition had us strike up a conversation with each other. And we were both there for conferences, but completely different conferences. We were both not from completely different parts of the US and the world. And yet time, fate, intuition, and serendipity brought us into that one moment together. When we left that conversation, just knowing that it'd be cool if we connected later on. And then months went by, full on months, where there was really no real connection that was taking place until the spark started up again. And we got a chance to reconnect and have some conversations. And through those conversations, not only have we gotten a chance to get to know each other better, it's actually led to some really interesting developments for both of us. And the standpoint here of the aspect of it being now we're here, we're on a call, and we're so comfortable that we can come out here and share our journeys and be able to be with one another in this moment of serendipity that was caused by us accepting and allowing and receiving the other moments that had come beforehand. So in a bit, I'm going to introduce Jenica to you. I'm going to leave you with one other thing here. The element here is the element of being open. Are you open enough for serendipity to be received? Are you open enough to see when the world is winking at you and being willing enough to step into it? And even when it seems that things might have fizzled out, are you open to continuing to leave a window ajar, leave the opportunity open? I have no clue where everything is going to go in our relationship, but I do know that it's led to this year and some really just quite some really interesting things. I want to talk. I realize right now there's so many things I want to talk about with more specificity, but before I do, I want to actually have Jenica be a part of this conversation. So Jenica, it's wonderful to be able to spend some time with you here. Throughout this journey, it's been a few short months here, and it's just it's been great that we've been able to continue to connect with one another and also continue to to grow with one another. So thank you for giving me the chance to serve you here today.
Thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So I got to share, would you mind sharing with everyone? No, I'm going to share because I'm just so excited real quick. Right before we got on this call, Jenica sent me a message here. And in that message was this fantastic remix. And I'll let you speak to what it is more, but I got a chance to hear my voice put together with some incredible music, some incredible inspiration. I actually, my words back to oh wow, I sound great. There's something in here. And I bring this up because you have a skill set and you have a unique vision in the world of being able to bring together these remixes in ways that really I had never even experienced before you brought it to my life. It's really funny because we're having this conversation now, Jenica, but there's going to be people in the future who hear the various remixes that we put out there, and they're not, and I think that's why I want to kind of timestamp it. Hey, just so you know, it started here and it's been growing
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool to be able to be in this convo with you. So, well, let's talk a little bit about like, because I realize like I want to keep that's real for us right now, and so I don't want to like leave that kind of like out of the conversation. Let's talk a little bit about though. I'd love to get to know your outer journey before we got into like before we met, before all this stuff came out here. If someone was just like going to see you on the surface, right, and see you and be like, oh, okay, like this is who Jenica is. She's done this. She's done this. She's done these like accomplishments. Like, feel free to enter the brag zone and like share a little bit about like your outer journey.
Okay, so I grew up as a competitive figure skater for 16 years, and I thought I was destined to go to the Olympics. And I did not train very well, very smartly, very healthily. I think we always do what the best that we can do with what we have. But my body couldn't keep up with the training that I was doing. And so the next logical path for me was engineering. So I went to engineering school. It feels really, really very linear there. So 3.5 in mechanical engineering school, and I ended up working for a power sports company. So I grew up in the desert, riding ATVs, out in the desert. And I thought, wow, if I could work for a power sports company, that is like my dream job. Fast forward a few years, and I became like a collector of jobs at this power sports company. And I was working so many hours. So I would just get another job and work more hours. And I slowly became addicted to work. And it was just like I was so consumed with working all the time that everything else in my life started to slip away. And I could see that this was happening in real time for other people. They were working at the expense of their relationships or their hobbies or their health or their connections to their loved ones. And as I was watching it happen around me, it was happening to me. And so I ended up at some conferences, and they completely reframed how I thought about work. And he said two things about productivity that just shook me to my core. And he said, this is not your train wreck. Like, you have to reclaim your agenda. This is not your train wreck. And so going back into work, that was like my motto, like, this is not my train wreck. I can't take that on. And then the second thing is, if like you're not that important, and I really had to swallow my ego with that. Like, why am I working so much? Like, I'm missing the point of life here because I'm working. Like, I am not that essential to this job. And it was totally my ego that I had to overcome. So through that journey and through the help and coaching that I received there, I became a certified high performance coach. And over the last couple of years, I've just really been reflecting on things that I love. And I've made this running list. So I love big dogs, and I love remixed music, and I love journals, and I love candles. And it's just like this collection of weird things that, as long as they're surrounded in my life, like, they bring me a lot of joy. And last year it came to me that the times in my life that I emotionally moved forward the most, or I was emotionally impacted the most, is when I had this combination of motivational speaking plus remixed music. So it's just like that profound energy, that profound music, that profound shift. And it's like, how do you remake your mind? How do you remix your mind so that you can remake the life that you want to be? And when you're in that emotional state and you're connected with that music, that's when those shifts were starting to happen to me. So I had this idea of, why doesn't someone, create these? And it's like, no, I need to create these. I don't know anything about remix music, but I love it. And so it's like, here we are in real time. I just sent the first one over, just playing around. It was so janky. I had my computer going, I had my phone going, and Snapchat. And I sent a video of my desk, and it was, but it was the vision. It's the vision. And Nehemiah understood that, and he pulled it out of me, and he encouraged it, and he is so excited and celebrated everything. And his content is so amazing that it just like took on a life of its own. So that's a little bit about my journey. I still work for a power sports company. I'm doing coaching, but also leading into this goal now that through our last couple conversations seemed like such this huge undertaking of like, oh, I really want to do this project, you know, well and with excellence. And he was like, no. Your excitement for it is now. Let's go right now. And it's like, don't wait for the right time. Start before you're ready. So that's what we're doing right now.
Exactly what we're doing right now. And like, so I've been listening to that thing that you sent me, and I'm like, it's just been really invigorating. I realized how excited I was from it. Like, just because like even the way that we started out this conversation, I was like, I gotta let the world know, like it's happening. And like, I want to just slow down really quickly because we're going to spend this conversation really in service of you and exploring that. I think that a lot of times people like, I want to slow down a little bit into like the evolution of saying yes to the remix, right? Because you've known that for a bit, and it just kind of showed up in a conversation that we were having, and it was just in there. So can we go back to that conversation that we had without having to go through all the details? I was just really kind of, I remember you had like another path. You're like, okay, I'm going to go down, but the path is going to be this. I'm going to like, there were all these different steps in the like that you had to do, and then it was going to jump over. Can you tell us about that? Remind me about that. Yeah.
So my engineering brain, very logical. Like I'm going to launch group coaching. I'm going to get into corporate coaching. And then maybe when I retire from corporate, then I'll start working into this new passion. And we're just talking, we're having this conversation, and he's like, what do you really want to do? Like, really, really want to do? Like, I mean, you seem excited about this and you can make it work, but like, what do you really want to do? And it was just like, he said to me, because it was like, right? Like you could see through my BS. Like,
yeah, if I remember right, you were like you had answered that question beforehand, and you had told me this answer, and for some reason I completely forgot. And I asked you, "What do you really want to do?" And you answered it again. And I, if I remember, I was like kind of like sitting back, just like listening, hearing about this whole corporate thing. And then you said like, and then after all that, like then I want to really get into like I really want to be like a speaker. I have this thing out here. And like I really love like the way that music and motivational words come together, and it's interesting because I won't forget that conversation because all of a sudden the energy in my body just like shifted. I was like I went from back here to just like sitting on the edge of my seats. I was like, fine, like there's something like whoa, this is interesting.
Yeah. So, but it was the first time that I really told anyone about that, and the excitement of sharing and the excitement of seeing it like released into the open and like given the freedom of like, oh, you have this thing that's built up in your head to be really cool. It's not as unachievable as you might think. And so it was like you just brought it closer and closer and closer and closer to like, no, we could do this like with this call right now. And it was like, hold up, let's hit record and remix our conversation. And it was just like, wow, this is really achievable. So something that I thought was going to be like, you know, years and consultants and research, and don't get me wrong, it probably still includes all of that, but like we can start now from the excitement, which is what carries us through so much.
And you have like the thing is like you have the vision. Like that conversation we had was maybe 3 weeks ago, and you've already sent me like my first ever remix video. I feel like I'm like I can see the future on this one here, and I'm like it like in 3 weeks this idea that was so far away has now like become a reality. We're able to share it, and it's the beginning. We both know it's the beginning of something that's going to grow beyond that. I'm happy to collaborate with you on this here. I'm happy to see more of your vision. And I'll let you know, you gave me something here. In this experience, it reminded me of like, what I'm actually doing. Because it's actually not that hard for me to create videos talking to myself while talking to others. You know, it's not like even this introduction we did before here, and it kind of came to me before, like right as we were starting. But this game is really around collaboration. How can we help activate those people with unique ideas who have their own skill sets, and help bring those skills to the forefront? The people who, like, the things that we thought maybe wouldn't have room, the things that we thought maybe we had to wait on, or we didn't have the expertise, or we would need permission for, or whatever it was, like to be able to bring that to life now, so that we can start collaborating and innovating and being able to get the benefits of all that right now. Like, you help remind me, like, this is what the real game is for me. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Since we've last talked, I've gone on and initiated like 5 different collaborations and different things. Yeah. And it's just like, I'm like,
that's amazing.
Absolutely. It's just very much like, oh, let's do this. Let's just do
I love
this.
it. That's so awesome, because you were so excited about it in our last call too. You were like, this is happening.
This is it. So let's.
And it's interesting because in the video that I just remixed for you, that's one of the things you're talking about, is when you shine your light, you're not, dimming the light of other people. You're just magnifying it so that they can shine brighter. And so like that, I feel like that's exactly what you helped me do. And now I'm trying to like give you that light back of, where's your dream? What's your real dream? Like, cool. And now how can we back amplify that? So it's just a really, really beautiful message there.
Yeah, this is working. This is working really well. Thank you for showing up this way, because I like it's interesting, but it's like in this uniqueness that all of a sudden open up all the doors, right? It's like yeah. If you're like I'm a corporate coach and I'm gonna do like group coaching and be like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know if there would have really been room for us to like create something really fun and unique. And we're already thinking, who else can we call in, and what other music can we get, and like help elevate other people just through the work that's out here. Like, it's very expansive, you choosing to go down this path. And I just want to just like call that out, and I'm excited to keep seeing where that goes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for showing up. So let's do this here. Like, we have some time set aside. I'm curious for you. Like, essentially I love working with impossible stuff. I love working with visions. And I also am really like, so all the stuff that's like up there in the world, high vibration, and also on the deep stuff, right? The things that might be keeping us from being able to go forward. I'm able to play on any part of that spectrum. So let's start it off like this here. I have a threshold for me where it's just like life-changing conversation or nothing at all. It's just the way that I work, right? So since this is going to be a life-changing conversation, what should we talk about that would make all the difference for you?
Oh. The things that are showing up in my mind are like, just like, courage and like the relentless pursuit of like your own uniqueness. So just super courageous. How are you owning your own life and not explaining that or to others, or it doesn't have to make sense, but it's like you're just so sure of that you're going after your own path.
Awesome. That sounds fun. That sounds really, really fun. So I'll love to play with you on that. So let's say we did that. Probably should take us about 20 minutes. So we'll have some time after that there. If you're able to really leave here and in about 20 minutes feel like, all right, I got the courage going on. I have the courage to relentlessly pursue my own path, and I own my own path here, right? Where would we take the conversation next? What would that give you that you don't already have?
Such a good question.
Take your time, and don't feel any rush at all. Like this space right here could be everything, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's just interesting because like I would have said it was the remix music, and now that seems like really actually far more achievable than I was thinking it would be. Like I just want to play with that so much more, of like making it bigger and making it more like fun, and play with that, and like just get into like actually like owning that space. I think like not dabble, like own that space.
Would that be a fun conversation for you to have right now?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
All right, let me check in here because I have to make sure I keep my own standards up, because I like, honestly, I'm here to serve you. If we had that conversation, because I know there's a lot of energy and excitement around it as it is, would that be a life-changing conversation for you? Or do we need to be talking about something else that would open up more for you? I'm happy to go down that path, but I want to just make sure that it isn't just an interesting conversation.
Is there anything else that's really resonating with you right now based on our past conversations?
No, I mean, like I could totally see it being really fun to go through these various ways, and like we saw a bit of what it could look like, and you already created something of what it, like where it is, like to keep going down that path. That'd be really great. I think there's two elements of this here. One, I am being relentless in my uniqueness and what I want. I'm like, I want a life-changing conversation, and it would be really easy for me to jump off right now and just be like, that sounds fun, let's go. But I want to make sure I'm holding to my standards and being a model of this, and while we're doing it together. So I don't want to just jump off because it's interesting. But I guess the question for me would be like, what's the risk right now that you're afraid of taking, or the risk right now where you would like, where courage would be necessary?
Yeah. I think just the courage to kind of move on to a different phase of my life. I think I'm holding on to that corporate job and that corporate role. Also, a relationship that is not fully finalized. So it's just like, what are those things, like those last couple of strings that are holding me in from fully embracing like the next phase of my life? But it feels like there's so many aspects of it that are like starting to get there. And it's like each one of them is like a string that I just feel like the analogy is like the string keeps getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And it's like you just have to break away some of those old ties, or some of those old identities, or old stories, or old beliefs that are holding you back. And it's like, as soon as you kind of clean out that closet, or you let go of the possessional things, like you really dig into your heart of what it is that you want to move yourself forward. And when you don't have those identities from the past, or even the possessions around you, or like the things to keep your mind cluttered, it's like, what is the life that you want to lead forward now? So it's just like that overall time of transition of like letting go. And I think about it today of, even when you're letting go of certain aspects, like you're gaining, and you're like, there's this yin and yang of celebration and grief all in the same time, even though it's like different aspects of your life. So like, I just came off this huge work project, and it was like this huge celebration, and so many years, and it was like the pride. And then it was like the people that I thought would be in my life at that time to celebrate with me, like the grief of not having them there. And then the grief of like, what's next? And it was like, I was embarrassed to admit of like, everyone is so happy and so full of joy about this project being launched out into the world. And it's like, you get home and it's like, you've never felt emptier. And it's like, you don't have those relationships that you thought would be there to celebrate with you. And you have to go through those feelings. Like you can't just skip it. And it's like, in order to move on, you have to go through it. And so it's just like, in your finances, maybe you're winning, but then in like your health, you're suffering, or it's like there's always that yin and yang. And it's like I always thought of it like life of like you're either progressing or you're going through the next great thing. But it's like I think it's even more multidimensional than that. Of even while certain aspects of your life are going great, there's always going to be those other times or other areas that are maybe not like excelling as fast. So it's always like that balance of like like just kind of shuffling things around of, so yeah, that's been on my mind a lot this week as I'm like grieving the project coming to an end and closing a chapter of working with this amazing team that is like my family. And then it's like the high of this vehicle being released. And then a relationship of 10 years that isn't at the finish line with me. And it's like, you got to go through all of those feelings and still show up in a way that makes you aligned with your integrity. And so it's like rethinking how you view success. And that's really been challenging me this week of like, on the outside, everyone's been saying like, oh, you are like, you know, look at you traveling and this project is launching. And it's like, yeah, my heart hurts. Like I'm sad. And so it's just this really interesting dynamic of how dynamic life is and how many different avenues there's, you know, winning and losing and gaining. And it's like things that you thought you wanted in your life. And then when you achieved it, it's like, oh, that wasn't really what I was expecting. And so it's like, okay, how can you move forward, or how can you get to the next phase that challenges you or defines you or lets you be who you're becoming to be. And I love this quote that I heard this week of, the person that you are in 2 years, obviously you're not ready to be them yet. So like the growth journey that you need to be in order to fulfill those needs. And that makes me really excited because you're always constantly evolving to who you need to become to achieve the things that you want to achieve or be. So it's like that beautiful journey.
I really want to acknowledge you here, Jenica, because you know, one of the things that really strikes me about you is like your smile. Like when you smile, you like, it's not just with like the mouth, it's like your being is involved in that, right? And there's also an element here where you allow yourself to have the full range of emotions. We talked earlier about like the courage to own all of you, you know, and what I'm getting from you is like, you are owning and also calling in like the grief that's a part of closing one chapter as you start the next chapter. You're owning like the celebration, because you're celebrating the wonderful things that have come up, and there's also the acknowledgement of emptiness and what I also get about when you were saying that is that there wasn't like, you gave space for that too. It didn't seem like it was like, it wasn't made right or wrong. It was just like, I came home and there was the emptiness, and the relationships that I thought were going to be there that just weren't there, and so on and so forth. Right. So I really want to just acknowledge you really quickly on that, because, you know, there's this element of being able to fully experience life and to fully experience all of the expressions of it that it feels like it's very much in line with what it is that you are setting out to do. I just kind of want to call out, like, it feels like you're in motion and movement on that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you see that. And I'll just say that experiencing that wide range of emotions, like, I have never been so tired. And I think that's kind of why as humans, we like shy away or try to avoid that emotions, because it's not easy to go through. It's like you really have to dig in and like sit with it and sit with that uncertainty and that discomfort and really kind of reflect on the things that are coming up. And it's like, I think surface level, it's always like, oh, I failed that. And it's like, no, maybe that just didn't serve me. And it's like, and you just kind of have to like play with and kind of analyze all these different scenarios of like which one is actually true. And it's like, it's never that first thought of like, oh, I was able to launch a video, but I wasn't successful with a relationship. And it's like, no, that's an easy out. Like, you evolved past that, or you, there's something else out there for you, or like it's never just that easy of an answer. So it's like all the different aspects of analyzing that situation, or just not analyzing it and just respecting it for what it was, and feeling it and having that reverence for it.
Yeah. There's intuitive. So typically I might want to go down the path of helping you close out that chapter. Right. And yet what I'm feeling from you is like, there's like a strong level of awareness around like what the path is and what the process is. And like, I'm feeling that like you're going through it and you're doing it in a way that is healthy and aware and like, yeah, it's not, there isn't a rush to get past anything. It's just taking its natural course. All right. So as I'm hearing you here, I'm like, actually what I'm hearing is that this part feels like it's still messy. There's still like grief. There's still like some loneliness and some emptiness that's in there. There's still like some relationships you want in there, but with that, you kind of know how that's going to be handled. Am I getting that right there? Let me know. Like, I'm very okay
you're good.
with being.
You're spot on.
Okay. All right. So there's a part here then that you brought up that was actually a little interesting here. You talked about like the 2-year element, all right, and who you would become for that. And would you have any interest in playing with that in this conversation?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. Let's use 2 years. I often use 3 years in case but if 2 years works for you, that
yeah.
Okay.
Whichever, yes.
Let's stay with what already has emotional resonance. It's fine there. So if in 2 years that will be it, then we'll stay with the emotional resonance right now. All right. There's a game I like to play. Then this is going to put us. That's called Fantasy Future Now. Okay. I'll explain the rules to you. You can tell me yes or no to whether or not you want to play the game or not. All right. Well, this is one of my favorite games to play when we're talking about like looking into the future or looking into see what the vision is or what is that we really want. All right.
Okay.
It is a game. Okay. So because there's a game, there are rules in here and way to get points. All right. And the rules are all in the title. All right. So the first one it's called fantasy. So what we're going to do here is we're not in the space of goals. We're not in the space of dreams. We're not in the space, like we're in the space of fantasy. So that to me is like, it's desire, it's wishes, we're getting out of my mind. I'm like, if it's a goal or a dream, then you know how to get there. And again, out like, it's like, okay, we got that. You have that in some way, shape or form, those steps we're talking about. And when we talk about fantasy, we're getting to the place where it's like, that's my, like, some fantasies you don't even tell people. Like that's the place that we're in, right? It's like that base side of like, this is just what I want. I just desire that, right? The other part of the fantasy part of this here is that I have no interest at all during this part of the game for anything that is pragmatic or realistic or that you can even see yourself like achieving, I just I have no interest in it at all. We can come back and bring in all the pragmatism to it all. There will be a time and a place, but for this game, it is fantasy for a reason. All right.
Okay.
So you will lose points if it's like, well, like it's a game, right? You will lose points when you're playing with what feels realistic to you, right? And look, part of the hint behind that is what you already said. You said the person you will become in 2 years, like you're not that person right now, so you can't even see what it would look like. So I don't want you to be caught based on on the Jenica of today as we play this game. Does that work for you?
Okay. Yes, that works great.
All right, cool. The second one is future, right? We're going to work 2 years from now, right? So it's going to be the end of January of, what is it? What would that make it then? 2022, right? End of January 2022. Yeah. For this game, I like to meet somewhere. So if you and I were going to meet like 2 years from now, anywhere, like where would we be meeting?
Oh, Fiji. Let's meet in Fiji.
Awesome. So we're meeting in Fiji. Whereabouts? Describe the area around us for this conference.
So we're meeting like a cabana. There's like a lot of fresh fruit and just like airy and lots of comfortable seating. There's water underneath us. We're on this open platform with white couches and just like lots of sunshine and like a nice ocean breeze and just so much like grounded happiness.
Nice. Fantastic. Thank you for choosing such an awesome place.
Yeah.
Think to yourself, you don't need to tell me right now, why are we in Fiji right now? All right. So think about that quickly. Okay. So the time frame is end of January of 2022. We're in Fiji. There's wonderful water, all this stuff. We're in the cabana. It's all this, and we're having a great conversation. All right. The last part of this, is that good for you in terms of that rule?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The last part of it is now, right? And so we're going to be having that conversation as though it is happening right now, right in this minute. All right. What that means is, yes. What that means is that like when I snap my fingers, we're going to be magically transported both in time and in space to the end of January, 2022 in Fiji, in the cabana, right then and there. We're going to continue the conversation as though it's happening right now. And basically you lose points if we're like, I would have, like, we're not talking, like, we're looking at it as we're there and we're looking back, or we're looking forward from that point. All right. Is that clear?
That's very clear.
All right, cool. So with that, then, are you interested in playing Fantasy Future now?
I am.
All right, cool. So let's just jump into it. We'll get there in 3, 2. Jenica! Wow.
Oh, hey.
I have never been to Fiji, and just being in this amazing environment is just working on me. I am feeling more rejuvenated than I've felt in a long time. I'm feeling more inspired than I've felt in a long time. It is awesome. Thank you so much for reaching out and having me come out and join you out here.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm so happy to have everyone here.
It's really cool. Like, tell me more about like what's going on. Like why are we here?
So we are getting ready to do Richard Branson's mastermind, and we're meeting all of our closest family or closest friends and business partners, people that we've been collaborating with and just making a lot of magic with over the last couple of years. And it's all accumulating on this island.
That's like, I wouldn't have it any other way, right? I wouldn't have it any way. It's so wild that we're already here, and at the same time, it makes so much sense. Like, just thinking about like what 2.5 years ago, we didn't even know each other, and now like look what's taking place here. And just thinking about you and your journey, you've created so much, you've done so much here. So tell me about like what's happening in your world right now.
So, so much is happening, and it's just really beautiful. I've retired from my corporate job. I have embraced speaking and remixing music for myself, as well as like really high-end clients, and the wait list is years long. And so it's just really exciting to see my DJ company coming into full swing, speaking on a lot of high-end stages with Bo Eason and Brendan Bouchard and Rachel Hollis. and opening up my own conferences and just seeing my movement from certified high performance coaching to now remixing your mind and remaking your life as a brand that is known in the industry.
It's really fun, like to see all this here, like the speaking that you're doing, who your peers are, the people that you're sharing stages with here, and the movement itself that's coming out here with the different organizations underneath, like to have the DJ like experience and DJ company underneath that as well. How does it feel to have created all this
here? It feels so fun, and I just fun, and it's humbling, and it's exciting. Like it's exciting to see it in real life because it was such a dream for so long.
Yeah. Tell me what else is going on in your life. So I know I'm going to like explore like the business side, and you know how I love movement. So we're going to be talking all about the remixing. But I am really curious, like what else is going on in terms of your relationships, your impact, the other things that are going on in your world, your family.
Yeah. So now that I've retired from corporate, I've been able to just travel and spend a lot of time with my family. So I was only seeing them maybe once or twice a year when we first met. And now it's like my mom will travel with me. They work for my business. They'll come spend weekends with me whenever they want, or we go different places. And I just love that because like one of the specific goals that I had when we first started talking was like, I fly first class with my family. And it was because I spent so many years at the back of the plane by myself or with a boss that I did not resonate with. And it was like, no, I want to travel and see the world with my family and my friends. And so now that's a reality, and just having their support in my business and making it a family ordeal, working with my sister and her husband and my parents, and my husband's getting on board, and he's super supportive, and just knowing that we're creating an empire and the impact that we're having of people want to be motivated. People want to make those emotional difference shifts, and they see their life. They're excited about it. They're excited to be the change that they dreamed of, and like they go to these resources to get amped up or to get, it's become a foundation in business of this is what we do. We have fun while we change. We have fun while we evolve. We bring in music, we dance, we lift each other up, we encourage each other. We're in this environment of encouragement. And it's just so fun to see like the vibration rise in the world.
That's fantastic. Like, I mean, I've been able to experience you myself, so I know what it's like to have that like vibration just keep going. And I'm someone that lives at like a fairly high frequency as it is. So like the work that you're doing is just phenomenal. I really appreciate you stepping into that and just really, really choosing to play at this level, right? Because you could have done this in any other way, but you chose to play at this level, and I really acknowledge you for that.
Thanks.
And I'm hearing too, as if I'm getting this right here, that like as you continue to have success here, you're doing this with family throughout. Your relationships are in a place where like they're literally coming on the journey with you. Like you're flying them first class, like and they're in the business with you. Like you have found a way to bring together your relationships and the things that you're creating. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So it was, years and years of like living in different states and maybe seeing each other once a year. And it's just like, there has to be a better way. And they were always my biggest fans of like, I'd host a webinar. They'd be like the first 3 people on it out of 11. And finally, like, they keep offering, like, what can we do to support you? What can we do to support you? And I'm like, actually come work for me. So they're retired, and now they have full-time jobs supporting this business. So, but it's like, it's a plaything for this family, and they understand it. They love it. They they want the coaching, and it's like, you don't have to pay for coaching, Mom. Like, you work in the business, you can have the coaching for free. But she just loves, she comes to the events. She loves on all the people that are coming. Mama Sue Bear, and they're just there. They're helping, check people in. They're there selling swag, and it's like they're encouraging people. They're there dancing front row, and it's just like they're living out a great vision. And it's without their support, it's just like with their support, it's just a big, big celebration of life, and just the most. I guess the biggest way I could thank them for all they did in my life is just truly honor them by showing up all the way. So when we do that together, it's just the most amazing feeling of, a family.
Yeah, I'm really feeling that. Kudos to you for creating that and bringing that into your world. Like, it's awesome looking at this here, and it's, just seeing the success and the journey that you've gone through on the outside of things. Like, I mean, it looks like just exponential meteoric success there, and it also doesn't surprise me at all. I do remember a time, maybe about like 2 years ago, almost exactly to the day, where you and I were having a conversation, and you were talking a bit about that, like, you're really looking for courage and like to have like some like a relentlessness to you and to own different things. I'm curious about like, how has courage played out for you over the last 2 years, and maybe you can tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh man, courage is everything to me. And I always used to think it was a confidence issue. It was a courage issue. Like, I just didn't have the courage to be who I thought I needed to be. Even from like, working with a bunch of male engineers, I'd wear like the male polo and like the men's small shirts and like try to just like blend in. And it was like, this isn't who I am. Like, I got to show up and do this in my own way. And it was just the courage of letting the expectations of my own life, the lid off my own life of like, you can be an engineer at one point in your life, and you can be an entrepreneur or a coach in the next phase. You can go back and DJ and remix your own music. You can, like, it doesn't have to look like what anyone else has done. Like, that's going to be a blockbuster type of a situation, not like a Netflix situation. So it's just like, who is the next like relevant Jenica in the journey? And that doesn't need to make sense to anyone except for me. And so it was just having the courage to step in and embrace that. And honestly, it was be okay with the results, because they're not going to be what you expect. They're going to be far above like what you can expect. So I'm
looking at it now. It's like, can I ask you there, like, now that since you like have clearly been living it here, like, who is that next Jenica? Who are you now? Now that you've had the courage to be who you are, tell me, who are you?
It's funny because the things that I love still really bring me joy. So like, I still love big dogs. I still love journals, and I still love, it's just that I'm able to do it with the people that I really love. And before, it was like, I was limited to experience that in like short bursts of like, oh, you can go see your family for a weekend. And it's like, the Jenica of now is like, no, you're experiencing exactly what you want to experience with who you want to experience it, when and where. So it's just like, it's not necessarily that the person is different, it's just different locations or in a different way. So it's like we're in different countries, or we're together is the biggest difference. And then just it's not limited in the time. So it's not just over a Christmas holiday. It's, on a Tuesday in February, like we're together as a family, or we're at an event, we're at a mastermind. So it's like we're growing as a family instead of being limited to, you have 3 days over Thanksgiving break.
Can I ask you, what was like the biggest shift from the time after we had that conversation 2 years ago till now? Like, if you had like, what was the thing that like the biggest shift that happened? What was the thing that happened?
The biggest shift was when, honestly, it was what you said to me, and it was just so, and it wasn't necessarily specifically what you said, it was just the whole concept of like these big ideas that you have, and like we often blow them up in our minds with our project plan or the way our vision casts, and we want to think big, and it's like, that's cool, and there's a space for that, and let that be there. But what's the next step tomorrow to get that and like hold that excitement? Like you spoke about this dream and passion that you had that you had put off for 2 years, and you talked about losing that flame and that real fire for it. And you're like, don't lose that now because you're trying to fill like an interim need. Like don't let your vision of the future go on pause and lose that fire because you're trying to fill an immediate interim need. And it's just like breaking down the barriers of entry. And that's exactly what you did. It's just like, break it down, be messy, but get in it and make sure that you're having that fun, because if there's no fun, there's no fire. So just getting in where your fire is, play with your fire, your unique passion.
Awesome. I think there's so much going on here this weekend that I want to like really honor that and just like also just like chill in with you. I do have like a question. It's a cliche question, but I think it might be something that might be useful just for me and just to understand here, because I'm out there helping people continue to break down the barriers to entry. Like that's just what I do. And I remember you telling me that 2 years ago, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep saying that. That's great. That's really good stuff. If there was one thing that you know now that you wish you had known 2 years ago, all right, what's that one thing that you would tell yourself 2 years ago?
Like, don't make decisions from where you're currently at. Make them from who you want to be in the future. And give yourself the respect that you know enough to make the decision for your future. Because you do know, hands down, respect it, hold yourself accountable for it, and let yourself really take action for the life that you see in the future, and don't back down from that.
Let's come back into this moment right here. All right. We're back in more specifically, we're back in 2020 right now. How are you feeling right now?
I feel great. I feel like energized, but yet very grounded.
What are like that, and it's really interesting. It's like the grounded elements. As much as we were talking fantasy and doing all these different things here, it's like at the same time it still feels grounded. What are one or two of your like what are one or two things that surprise you about what you said that came up here?
It's interesting that we could go through the whole emotion range of like starting the call with a lot of excitement, and then really reflecting on like the grief or the sorrow that sneaks up in like those times of your celebration, and then like lifting that back up, and then being back to current day of current situation and being no less excited about the whole journey. So I think just like being able to go through that whole emotional spectrum and then coming back and not being like, oh, it's like, oh, we can like, this is a real possibility. And so just knowing, like furthering the conviction, I think is what just happened.
Yeah. But like, because what I get about you is like, you're on the path right now, right? Like in the conversations that we're having now, it's like, okay, you're oriented toward what it is that it is that you actually want, and you're bringing it to life. You said what is it, something along the lines of like, make your decisions from who you're going to be in the future, and when you said that to me, it's like I often talk about a compass, in my work. A lot of times people come to me, they're like, I'm trying to figure out the destination. I'm trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be. I'm trying to figure out like what the end thing looks like. I need to have a plan to get from here to here. I'm looking for a roadmap, and there's all about like, what are the various steps all along the way? And I'm like, to be honest, if I could tell you that, I would just go play the lottery and just like, I would like go into every single, like this kind of stuff, like what you're asking for a path for someone who's never done what you're doing. For us, like outliers and trailblazers, the people that are doing things differently and creating our own path, there is no one can tell it to. If I did tell it to you, you would immediately reject it because it's like, it's not what I want. It's not my thing. So what has been really, really helpful as a tool has been the idea of a compass. And the compass being when I get to a fork in the road or have an opportunity to make a decision, for this one choice, am I making a choice that is that's going to take me closer to where I want to be, or is it going to be more in line with how I have been or how I think I should be? And it's like in those small micro choices, that's really where that's where the future gets created, right? The future gets created. This is the whole thing. It's like the future gets created right now in every single conversation, like in every single moment, we are creating that future. And all we're doing is basically making deposits into that future now that will pay off at an exponential rate where it comes out. That 2-year goal, there's nothing in it that would be an off for me, as long as if you're living it along the way.
Yeah. I love that example. That's such a good analogy.
So as you're going through this, as you're going forward, it's like that element of like making decisions as if it's coming from the future and using that as your compass. Like, I feel it'd be really actually pretty fun to put it into play right now. Let me just check in with you. Do you have capacity right now for another thing right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a theme that really came up throughout the conversation. Like, did you pick up on any themes that were coming out? Something that like, no matter, the relationships and family elements, like in any direction that we went, they were really core and center to it all. Right.
Yeah.
And you talked about the difference between how you're able to spend time with the people that you love right now versus how you be spending time then, right? For coming from like how you're going to be in the future.
Yeah.
What I heard was like, you were no longer on, I heard more freedom, more flexibility, more security, more control, more direction, more abundance with it. It was just like it was to the extent that like we all work together, and at the same time, if I just want to show up, like we want to hang out on a Tuesday, we can. We're like there's that whole range in there, right? And the point of this game is not to like say this is exactly what it is, but to help us get into it, like to help us see more of what it is that we want. So I want to just kind of pull out what are some of the things that came out. So, and you said this a couple of different times. We're growing as a family. We're growing as a family. We're growing as a family. So from that place there, right, of like making your decisions from a place from how you would be in the future, like, and also like this our common theme of like, how can we take this big thing that needs to have all this stuff out here where we have to be traveling first class, otherwise we're not traveling at all, what's one way that we can model that for you in the upcoming 3 months?
Yeah, I love that. Will you ask that again?
Yeah, absolutely. What's one way that you can start growing as a family in the way that you want within the next 3 months? One specific way you can do it.
Honestly, like I think just invite them into more of helping with my current business because they're already offering, and it's like, don't wait until it reaches a certain level, start now. And it's just like, I think in my head before I had to like, oh, it needs to reach this level and then I'll need more help. And it's like, no, let them help now. Like, so just starting to start that family bonding now. And also, like traveling is coming up in my mind, of like traveling at unconditional times. And there's no reason that can't start now. I don't have to quit my corporate job in order to show up there and hang out with them on a Tuesday. Like that's a limit that I've set for myself. So traveling and accepting more help and starting to grow as a family now before it's like just now.
Yeah. That sounds fun. I look at my mind, like I could go down the path of like which Tuesday, what airline, all like, but I don't, that's not the point of this here, right?
Yeah.
The point is how quickly you're like, oh, well, I really could just do that. And I really like, and we're taking this thing that we've put 2 years out into the future and we're bringing it into our world as it exists for us in this moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
What are you feeling right now in your body?
Just like alive, like just fully aware and alive, and just really a deep reverence for life and the opportunities that are here. And I think it's such an interesting time because, especially in the light of Kobe Bryant's death, and I never really followed him, but I just seen the impact that he had on the world, of how quickly it can all change. And so it's like, don't wait. Today, you need to step forward. Today, do the things that you love. And so just going on this journey in light of like, again, it's that yin and yang of like, this is such a inspiring and honest and raw conversation in light of, you know, real life and the sorrow of that so many people are feeling because they're losing this hero. And it was like, this week I was not going to post a training because I was like, oh, this is a bad time. Like everyone's grieving, you know, the loss of this great legend. And I thought, no, that's exactly why I need to post the training, is because that's what I need to build. He already built what he needed to build. He showed up when it wasn't convenient for him. He showed up when it was hard, when he needed to live his life. And it's like, how do you honor your life? And it's like, you show up in the things that you're called for, no matter when it is. And so just bringing all of this, like small wins with a small remix. And then it's like this huge vision of 2 years in the future. Now bringing it back, it's just like so grateful and alive, and just really, really appreciative of the opportunities and the connections and the serendipity of this connection. So yeah,
there's I'm out in Singapore. Kobe's death hit me really hard. I remember I was actually in vacation in the Philippines when I heard about it, and I'm still even processing. I know that there's things I want to say, but I'm still processing around it all there. And I think it's that element, and perhaps it's part of what has helped me really see I'm stepping into part of my mission. Just like it can happen right now. And like, we don't need to put all these additional steps in the way. We can just experience it here. From the number of people that I've seen that were waiting until retirement and then got sick, or like, you know, never made it there in the first place. And all these things that we have been delaying in life that never really got a chance to come to life. And, you know, one of the things that's interesting about us is that we've gotten to a place where a lot of people have worked their whole lives to get there very early in life, you know, and it makes sense that like we ask ourselves, well, now what? Like, how do we go from what comes next? You know, because a lot of times we didn't have the examples to continue to show us here. And I just I really acknowledge you for being someone who's willing to move it from the future, bring it into the present, and really bring it in there. Like when I talk about the 3-week thing, I'm not like, and to your first remix, I'm not joking about it, right? Like, it exists now, right? Like before, like it is real, it exists, and I can come onto this conversation and introduce you exactly as the leader of the remix movement, you know, because it like you are doing it. There was no part of me that was like, I didn't feel any stretch. It was just like, this is what you do. You speak, you share, you remix messages. You know, can you say it to me one more time? You remix your mind so you can remake your life. Was that it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's happening right now. I'm happy to continue playing with you and being on that journey, but I get a sense that the more that you're able to bring to make your decisions from the future and to find a way to live that now for yourself, the more that I think like you're also going to like, that's a whole remix thought for a lot of other people. They're like, oh, okay, I need to have, this is step 20. And step 20, this is when I'm going to get it. You're like, remix. Step 20 is now step 2. You know, it's like, yeah, it's just happening. Yeah. So there's a lot that like with who you are and how you even live, like how you're even living your life right now and living your story right now, that really fits in there. I just want to just call that out here. Like,
yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead. We'll wrap up this conversation. I feel like this is a good place to like let some things be. I think there's some things that you can live like think about and live out from here. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to wrap up here by talking again to the camera and anyone that's watching this here and speaking a little bit to what was going on during the Fantasy Future game as well. All right.
Yeah. Awesome.
Stay on the line if you can. I'd like to just like connect with you afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay? Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wrap up here with just sharing a little bit about the experience I had during the Fantasy Future game. And, you know, right now you got a chance to watch firsthand as Jenica went through that game for herself, but you can play this as well. I recommend finding someone to talk to who will be willing to play the game with you and to stay in conversation here. But there's just something about being able to say it in real time and to be encouraged to keep going. That actually brings out and helps uncover what it is that you're really looking for. Throughout this game, I made a point of not worrying about being pragmatic or any of that stuff there. And Jenica's first words when she came back were like, you know, she's feeling something along the lines of I'm feeling energized, but also grounded, you know. And there's this element here around when we look, I learned this from my mentor and coach, Rich Lipton. It's like the future doesn't exist. Neither does the past. All we ever have is the present. And in taking ourselves to experience a game like the Fantasy Future now and to live that future as though it was the present, it helped our brain actually see and feel what it could be like right now. Jenica has a lived embodied experience. It's in her nervous system what it's like to live as she would be and to be that person 2 years from now. And you notice that all the answers, all the questions, things about the courage, all the answers were there from that place. And she's continuing now to make decisions from that place. So I wanted to pull that out and just like slow down and let you know a little bit about that exercise, why I do it, like how it helps with the vision. A number of times where it's just like, if we can just allow yourself to not have to be restrained by what you think you can do, we can actually go ahead and start creating what it is that you actually want. She's going to be working with her family from now on. It's like, it's not like she's just been doing it. And by the time 2 years comes by, she's going to be so practiced that it's going to be wonderful. Right. So I'll end this here and asking you to take on. I invite you to find one person where you can engage in this conversation with, engage in letting your imagination go wild again and pay attention to how you feel afterwards. And let's talk. Let's go ahead and create something together from that. All right. If you're ever interested in playing the game, either with me, with a group of other outliers and trailblazers who are creating something in the world, or you want some additional support, just go over to niyama.com/tribe and see some of the resources we have for you there. We have this amazing community that meets on a regular basis that's just out there supporting each other with various resources, various experiences, and so on. This is where the real work gets done. Can't wait to see you there. Talk to you soon.